Hi everyone, welcome to Movie World. Robert Waldman, back in action reporting. Today I want to talk to you about an Academy Award winning Best Picture. We're going back to 1967, and it's a wonderful movie, a serious movie and an important movie, In the Heat of a Night, directed by Norman Jewison, a Toronto-born director who would rise to great fame and fortune in the United States. Mr. Jewison also gave us, a few years later, Fiddler on the Roof, a wonderful musical. This guy can and does do it all. Let me set the stage for In the Heat of a Night. It's set in the Deep South, Mississippi to be exact, back in the early, middle 1960s. Now you have to remember that back in those days, the South was rife with racism. Colored people were treated with disrespect on a big time scale. This was commonplace in the U.S. South of the 1940s, 50s, and unfortunately into the 1960s. So the story involves this. There's a murder in this small hick town called Sparta, Mississippi. Now, all the law officers there, the police, the sheriff, they're all a bunch of rednecks, and they're headed by a police officer of sorts, played by Rod Steiger in a great performance. What happens is when there's a body found in the middle of town by a policeman, they naturally try to find a suspect. Believe it or not, they find a black man who's at the train station ready to leave town. So he's naturally fingered. The man's name is Mr. Tibbs, Nigel Tibbs. Well, when he's put into jail for the crime that he didn't commit, sooner or later, in a very short order, the police realize they made a mistake. The man they put in jail is actually a police official, a detective no less, a homicide detective from Philadelphia. Now these small town white law enforcement officials can't believe that a black man can actually be a crime investigator. Well, they check out his credentials, they find out that he is indeed a detective, and he's released. But this is when things get interesting, because there still is a murder. Now the white sheriff and his comrades can't pin the crime on the black man, so now that they know that this black man is respected, that he's knowledgeable, that he's an effective detective and very good at solving crimes, they decide that maybe they should appeal to this black man to help them solve a crime. Now at first you can imagine that Mr. Tibbs isn't exactly too thrilled to be part of the investigative team. After all, he was already just about being railroaded by these hicks. Naturally, he decides to take up the challenge. What happens next is a textbook case of racism, not just hidden below the surface, but out in the open. So this is a great movie. It peels away the layers of institutional racism in the Deep South during that era. What can you say about Sidney Poitier? He's terrific as a rather angered, hot under the collar young man who has to keep his emotions to himself. He gets under the skin of obviously the police department and the police sheriff, and the feelings is mutual. So this is a great study case in racism and how to react and how to treat others. It's very discomforting at times, but it's very well-meaning, well-intentioned. And there are some scenes in this movie with some, potential crimes leveled against the black man that are, very emotional. This is a good movie. It's a little bit slow at times, but it's certainly worth seeing. And actually, the story In the Heat of the Night was actually later on turned into a TV series with none other than Carol O'Connor starring as the white cop. Now, we all remember Carol O'Connor as Archie Bunker in All in the Family, a very memorable racist portrayal. But actually, from Norman Lear, showed the focus on racism in a realistic way. On a scale of 1 to 10, In the Heat of a Night, it gets a 9. Really enjoyed this movie. It's from MGM, and it's a must-see classic film. Thanks for watching. Robert Waldman for Movie World. See you later.